So, good afternoon, everybody. This is the Ethics Game Show. It's part of our BEGA Ethics Week presentation. My name is Lynn Tran. I'm the Senior Attorney Advisor to the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability. And today we are going to run through some common scenarios that you might encounter and also hopefully have a little bit of fun. So let me start this presentation and we can start the show. Okay, can everybody see that presentation? All good? If you can't, you can unmute yourself and just let me know. So again, this is the Ethics Week game show, Ethics Game Show for Ethics Week 2023. Here's how to play. So I dropped the link in the chat earlier for the slido.com. There will be a slide next that you can also use your phone to scan if you want to participate. Each question is going to be worth a different number of points. And I'm going to encourage you guys to keep track of your own points because I couldn't figure out how to do that in the game show format. The person with the most points at the end wins a prize. So make sure to give me your contact information if you happen to be the lucky winner. And in case of a tie, we will have random drawing or everybody probably gets a prize. And the most important thing is I hope that we'll have some fun today. So here's the link again to the Slido. So are we ready to play? Everybody ready? Let's start first of all with what are some of the most common issues you guys are dealing with? If you want to drop it in the chat, we can see kind of what ethics issues you guys are dealing with every day. See some typing. I see one person typing. I know we've got more than one person, two people. Let's see. Conflicts, outside employment. What else? Reporting concerns, recusal. We got a few more people typing and we want to wrap up our typing. Let's see what we've got. So a lot of conflicts, gifts from acquaintances, retaliation, recusal, outside employment, conflicts of interest. Can we take money from outside entities, using government property for personal use, donation agreements, travels, protecting patient health information. We're going to go through some, but not all of these issues today. Can we serve on a board? And hopefully, we can talk through some of these and come up with some answers to some of these questions. So we're going to start with our game board. We have 4 different categories today: gifts, too many hats, election season, and ethics wildcard, where we kind of get a little bit of everything. So first of all, who wants to pick the first question? Anybody? You can just unmute yourself because I can't really see the chat. So if you want to unmute yourself and pick the first question. Anthony, I see a hand.
Too many hats for
Anthony, can you unmute yourself and tell me what question you want? No?
He said too many hats for 100.
I can't really hear you. Huh.
Can you hear me now?
Can you guys hear me okay? Can you guys hear each other?
We can hear you.
And each other.
Too
I'm
many
going to stop
hats
the
for
slideshow
100.
for a minute and see what's going on with my tech issues. Okay. Can somebody speak so I can see if I can hear you?
Can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear
I
me?
can hear you guys.
Oh.
That's a bit of a
Hello.
problem. You can hear me. I can't seem to hear you. Let's see why that would be.
Use the volume.
Can we have somebody try to speak again?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes. Okay, I can hear you guys now.
Okay.
Very odd. Okay. You guys can hear me. I can hear you.
Good.
Okay. I'm gonna let's try that again. So we're going to go back to our game board. Sorry about that, everybody. A little bit of technical difficulties that hopefully we can. I'm going to go back to our game board. And okay, let's go to our game board. Show. Let's get to our game board. Okay. First question.
Too many hats for 100.
Too many hats for 100. So, too many hats for 100. John's an inspector at the Department of Buildings. He submitted an application to multiple contractors who work in the district, and he's been talking to different contractors about working for them. John is getting his list of inspections for the day. He sees a name of one of the contractors he's been meeting with. So, get ready. Is there anything John needs to do before he starts his inspections for the day? What do we need to be thinking about? So is John just good? He has his list of inspections. He goes out, he's like, it's fine. I've been told what I need to do. I've got these 5 inspections. I need to take care of them for the day. Does he need to ask any questions? Does he need to tell anybody anything? What do we think? You guys want to, I don't see any voting started yet. So what do people think? Yes, he needs to do
Yes.
something. No, he doesn't. Maybe.
Yes.
It depends. What do we think?
Yes.
Yes, he
Yes.
does.
I hear some yeses. What do we think he needs to do?
He needs to get in there and tell his supervisor that he has a potential conflict of interest because he's been discussing employment with people that he may have oversight over.
Okay. Does everybody agree on that? Is this, this is 100 points, so it is a little
Yes.
bit on the,
Yes.
yes, 92%. So for those of you, the 8% who said maybe, why do we think it's a maybe? If you want to say. Is it, does it depend on, say, how long it's been since he submitted those applications? Say he submitted those applications like 6 months ago, never heard back. Then we're maybe in a different situation, right? So he's applied, he hasn't heard back, he's not really in discussions. So that's not exactly the scenario that we had, but it could be the case that you've been applying, you submitted blind, applications to various places, haven't heard back from them. It's been long enough, over 2 months or so, that maybe the potential for the conflict isn't there anymore. But again, that's not the case that's not the case here, but it could be the case in a different situation. So let's move on to our next question. So correct answer was yes. He needs to file a written recusal. So he does have a conflict. He needs to file a written recusal. The contractor is an entity that he's closely affiliated with because it's as a prospective employer, it's an affiliated entity and it could affect John's financial interest in being hired by this entity. So let's go back. Next.
Election season for 100.
Election season for 100. Starting with the easy ones. So Ellen is the legislative director for a retiring council member. She's been approached to run for a vacant seat on the council. Can she file to run in the primary election for the council seat? What do we think? Yes, no, maybe. I'm gonna let you guys get a little bit of voting in. What do we think the answer is? Yes, she can. It's not a problem. It's a council seat.
I think it's no, not unless she quits her job.
Not unless she quits her job. Do we think it's no? Is there a maybe here? Could it be maybe yes, maybe no? We're very clear about what position we're talking about, right? So we don't say she wants to run for office in general. We're very clear that she wants to run for a seat for the council. So the answer is, So the answer is she can't because it is, so we have, a mix. Yes, she could, 36% say yes, 43% say no, 21% say maybe. So for the yeses, is there why do you think she can run for the council seat? And the reason it's a no and not a yes is because we were very clear about the position that we're talking about. And so the answer is no. She can't file as a candidate for a partisan political office regulated by the Board of Elections while she is a district government employee. So it's because it's a seat on the council as opposed to, say, ANC, State Board of Education, or something where it's not a partisan political office. But if she wants to run for, mayor, council, attorney general, where you have to go through a partisan process, then that's regulated by the Board of Elections, then she wouldn't be able to do it under the Local Hatch Act while a district government employee. So for those of you who got that, add another 100 points to your list. What's next? Anybody want to pick?
How about gifts for 300?
Gifts for 300. We're jumping around. That's good. Okay. So Frank and his wife have been invited to join a family friend, Sam, on vacation at Sam's Florida beach house. Sam has a single member LLC that holds contracts with the district, including with the Department of Public Works, where Frank works. Frank, who is a public financial disclosure statement filer, does not handle contracts for DPW. So here's our question. Guys, get ready to vote. Okay. Can Frank stay at the beach house in Florida? Yes, he can. No, he can't. Maybe. What do we think? And again, I'm going to give everybody a few seconds to vote. And let's see where the votes are. 42% say Frank should go, enjoy some sun, have some fun, go down to Florida. 25% of you are like, I don't know about this. Maybe Florida's not the best idea for Frank. And then 33% of you are maybe, because you have some additional questions that you want answered. For the maybes, like what type of questions do you think you need answered before you can say yes or no?
What about the relationship between the two of them? Are they very close?
What about the
friends?
relationship? That's a great question. What about because we said that, they're friends, but what's their relationship? Are they friends where they, have known each other for a while and they reciprocate gifts, they go on vacations together, they have dinners together? Are they new friends, right? Where they don't really know each other that well, and this is kind of a bigger gift than maybe they might normally exchange. I think in this particular case, we talked about how they're family friends, right? So let's assume they have a longstanding history of reciprocal gift giving. They've exchanged gifts over the years. They've been friends for like years, and Frank has invited Sam places. Sam has invited Frank places. Does that change our answer? Probably, right?
Yeah.
So in this particular case, I went with the yes, Frank can accept the gift to Florida because we've said in the factual background that they're longstanding family friends, right? So we're going to assume they have that reciprocal gift giving. Yes. Okay, sorry. I thought somebody had a question. And keeping in mind that you can accept a gift motivated by personal friendship. And as long as the gift is motivated solely by personal friendship. We said in the hypothetical, Frank doesn't oversee contracts. So even though Sam might have contracts with Frank's agency, Frank's not involved in that. He can't influence that. So that's a key fact.
I think
Frank
how
also
Sam.
need to, sorry?
I think how Sam presents the gift might also be an issue. If Sam comes into
Absolutely.
the office and makes a big deal of it.
Right,
and doesn't
absolutely.
appear.
If he if he says, oh, yeah, I was in the office, talking to so-and-so about this potential contract. Oh, by the way, I'm heading down to Florida. Do you want to join me? That's very different than Sam and Frank have planned trips together for years. And this year they happen to talk about going to Florida and Sam's like, yeah, let's just go stay at my beach house, right? Those are very different facts. And keeping in mind, even if Frank can accept, there's a question about whether he should, right? If he can say, yes, this is a totally acceptable gift, the rules allow me to take this, but I don't handle contracts, but maybe I oversee something that's close enough that it looks bad. Maybe you don't take the gift. And even if you do take it and you can be certain that it's totally fine, it's within the rules, this is clearly based solely on personal friendship, you're still going to have to report the gift because Frank is a public filer, and Sam is a prohibited source. So we're going to go back to our categories. What's next? Anybody want to pick?
Wild
Ethics wild.
card for 200.
Gifts for 200.
Gifts for 200. I heard gifts for 200 and I heard wild card for 200. So let's do the wild card first and then we'll go back to gifts. So ethics wild card for 200. Peter is a manager at Octo and he's on the hiring panel for an administrative assistant for Octo. So in reviewing resumes before the next day's interview, so Peter gets his list of his stack of resume. Peter notices his brother-in-law's on the interview list. Peter tells his boss, he's like, you know, obviously I can't interview my brother-in-law. And so he doesn't go on the interview, but he still participates in the rest of the interviews for the position. So here's our question. Did Peter take the proper steps to adhere to the prohibition against nepotism? So clearly he sees there's an issue, right? He gets the list, he gets the resumes, he sees his brother-in-law, he's like, obviously I can't participate in this. So did he do the right thing? Yes, no, maybe. What do we think? Again, I'm gonna give everybody a few seconds to register their votes. And let's see. So yes, 57% say, yeah, Peter did the right thing, right? He took himself off the interview panel and he didn't interview his brother-in-law. 39% of you are like, no, he didn't quite do the right thing. And then 4% are maybe. So for those of you who said no, why do you think Peter didn't do the right thing? He didn't take the proper steps?
I thought he had to write. I thought he had to be in writing.
You have to be in writing. Exactly. So Peter, so the correct answer is no. Peter's not fulfilled the requirements because he did not file that written recusal. And he's still involved, right? So he didn't interview his brother-in-law, but he interviewed everybody else. So that's still a problem. He's still part of the process. When he's recused, you have to put that in writing and you actually have to take yourself entirely out of the process. So that's where Peter went wrong. He had this, you know, he knew enough to say, I know I can't take part in this interview, but he didn't take the additional steps that he needed to take to file that written recusal and to take himself entirely out of the process. So now we're going, I think next we were going to gifts for 200. So Playtime Theater offers Angela, who's an employee of the Commission on Arts and Humanities, 2 tickets to their premiere of the new production of Cats. Angela tells Playtime she'd love to attend. She can't take the tickets. She'd love to attend and take her mom, who's a huge fan of Cats, but she can't take the tickets because Playtime's a recipient of a grant administered by the commission. Playtime offers the tickets to Angela's mom, Bertha. So can Bertha accept the tickets to Cats? What do we think? And I'm going to give everybody a few seconds to register their vote. And then, so 19% and 15% of you say, yes, go see Cats. Hope it's better than the movie of Cats and enjoy yourself. 85% of you are like, no, you can't take the tickets to Cats. And why is that she can't take the tickets? For those of you who say no. So that is the correct answer. She can't accept the tickets because they're actually, they're a gift to Angela from the Commissioner on Arts and Humanities, because it's a gift that's being given to her mother because with Angela's knowledge and acquiescence, because of that person's relationship. So you can't say, no, I can't take a gift. I know it's prohibited to me, but hey, you can give it to somebody else instead. You can't redirect a gift and make that gift okay. If it's a prohibited gift to you, then it's a prohibited gift to you, even if it's being given to somebody else. So going back to our categories list. How's everybody feeling about these? We're getting, some with pretty good splits between people. Are these easy? Are they like not so easy? I've tried to mix them up a little bit. Too easy, maybe?
No, they're good. They are good. They're good
They feel good to me.
examples.
Okay, well, let's keep going. Okay, what's next?
Election season 400.
Election season for 400. Okay. So Mayor Goodway is running for president. To maximize her time, she tries to schedule an event promoting the district in each location she visits for her campaign. She reasons this allows the district to benefit from her campaign travels. Since she is not qualified for Secret Service protection, MPD officers who travel with her for official events provide protection for her during the trip. So here's our question. Do we have any advice for her and her campaign? And yes, there's some things that she needs to think about. No, she's all good. Like, right, she's promoting the district. She's out. She's, doing what she needs to be doing. Maybe, this was a little bit harder to do as a quiz, frankly. So what do you guys think? Yes, no, maybe. And I'm going to say that generally the answer is probably never no if you're talking about giving advice. So yes, 81% of you said, yeah, I've got a lot of things I want to talk to her about. 5% of you say no. Again, I generally don't lean towards the no on if somebody's calling you for advice or issues are coming up, there's probably something you can kind of help tease through. And then 14% of you are saying maybe. So you go with yes on this one. And for those of you who said yes, what type of advice are you guys thinking you need to get? What do you need to talk to her about?
Well, the first thing is if her travels are primarily for electioneering and representing the district is pretextual, and she's running up the travel expenses of MPD officers,
Yep.
and the district and the citizenry is not expected to defray the costs of her campaign.
Absolutely. It's absolutely something that, always have to be mindful of, right? So, she needs to keep in mind that her campaign is completely separate from her official duties as mayor. And the district, and Anthony, you're exactly right, the district should not be subsidizing her campaign using official resources, including MPD. And I will say that there have been several very recent high-profile record fines, both in New York City and Nevada, for candidates who did not separate their official duties from their campaigns. And so in Nevada, the Commission on Ethics voted to censure former Clark County Sheriff and current Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo and fine him $20,000 for using his badge and wearing a sheriff uniform during his 2022 campaign for governor. The staff at the commission had actually recommended an over $1.6 million fine for willful violations, but he ended up with $20,000, which was still the highest fine that they had. I think he is petitioning for review of that. In New York City, the Conflicts of Interest Board fined former Mayor Bill de Blasio for bringing his security detail on trips during his presidential campaign. So the mayor was ordered to reimburse the city almost $320,000 for travel costs for the detail, and also had to pay, it was fined $155,000. So again, the district should not be subsidizing any campaign activities by our elected officials. So they need to make sure to keep campaign activities entirely separate from official duties and not be using official resources as a subsidy for their campaigns. Okay. Go back to our categories. What's next?
Wild card for 100.
Wild card for 400 or 100?
100.
100? Okay. Let's see what we've got. So how many members are on the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability's board? So you guys, do we have 3 members, 5 members, 7 members? And we usually tell everybody at the beginning of all our trainings how many board members we have. And I know that Director Cooks mentioned it this morning in her welcome to Ethics Week. So 12% of you say 3, 71% of you have been attending our trainings and say 5, and 18% say 7. We actually have a 5-member board. We have Chairperson Norma Hutchison, Charles Nottingham, Felice Smith, Darren Sobin, Melissa Tucker are the 5 members of BEGA's board. Okay, next. What do we want next?
Too many hats, 400.
Too many hats for 400. Okay. Let's go to too many hats for 400. And my computer's being a little bit, oh, here we go. Okay.
Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal.
Let's try.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
So there's our question. So what can you guys tell what Hal is up to from this? Like, do you know why maybe he's not opening the pod bay doors? This is too many hats for 400. So any guesses? Wrong answers only? Anything? So this is, again, a little bit hard to pull because you actually don't know at all what the basic scenario is. But I thought that we might want a little bit of a break and something that could fit into our too many hats scenario. So nobody said maybe. I thought maybe people could come up with some creative suggestions. Here's our actual scenario. So Dave works on public health research at the Department of Health, teaches an adjunct course on statistical analysis at Georgetown. Department of Health uses HAL to analyze data for its published reports. Dave has asked HAL to provide a copy of the underlying data sets used to produce the published reports for use in his class at Georgetown. He believes the information is publicly available. So going back to our question, can he use that data set? What do we think? It's being used in published reports. So
Yeah, I think he can if it's been made available to the public. If it was paid for with public funding, like grant funds, it's
right.
absolutely available to the public.
So that's the question, right? Is the underlying data available to the public? So
Yes.
if he's using information that's not generally available, is not available to the general public, the data may have been analyzed in the public reports, but it's not clear from our example that the actual underlying data sets are available. So the results of the data analysis are available. And that's, if you wanted to just use the published reports and teach the public reports, that's completely fine, right? But if we're talking about underlying data sets that maybe the raw data has not been made publicly available, then he can't circumvent kind of the restrictions and get it because he's working for the district, right? So that's the problem. The problem is not using the published reports and the publicly available portion. It's going in and using his official position to get data, raw data, or data that may not be available to the public in that same form. So that was, intentionally a little tricky. And so anybody have any questions on that one? I'll go back to our categories then. Okay. What's next? Anybody have a
Gifts for 4.
Which one? Gifts?
Like gifts for 4.
Okay, let's do gifts for 4. So foreign delegation from China is visiting the district, attends a meeting with BEGA to learn more about civil enforcement of ethics laws. So this is actually, something that is not uncommon, right? You have foreign delegations, they come, they want to talk about, what it is that agencies are working on. So, they've come to BEGA, we've given them our presentation on civil enforcement of ethics laws, and they present Director Cooks with a crystal paperweight valued at $100 to commemorate the visit. So, do we think that Director Cooks can accept the paperweight? Yes, it's $100 coming from a foreign delegation. It's in connection with an official visit. No, we don't think she can take it. It's, the value is over kind of the standard gifts limit. Maybe, it depends. What do we think? So again, this is kind of all over the, 19% of you say, yep, she can take it, it's fine. Why do we think that it's, for those of you who say yes, what's the basis of it?
I think she can take it on behalf of the agency, but not specifically for herself.
On behalf of the agency.
Yeah.
What about those of you who say no? What's the reasoning for saying that she can't accept it?
The same reason. I think she
Same
can
reason?
accept it personally, but she can take it on behalf of the district and, display it somewhere on district property.
Yep, and then 25 of you are like, maybe, it depends. So, yes. Sorry, I thought we had additional comments. So it's a maybe, right? So thing to keep in mind with this is that the gift is less than the minimal value for foreign gifts and under the Foreign Gifts and Decorations Act, which is currently sitting at $480. That's kind of changed every 3 years. GSA kind of modifies that minimal value, and she can only retain the gift on behalf of the district with the approval through the approval process that's set up, which is per the mayor's memorandum 2015 and 2017 through the approval process with the chief of staff and the office of general counsel. So it's a maybe, because it would one, she would not be able to accept it in her personal capacity. We'd have to make sure it meets the minimal value, which again, it's well under the minimal value, but then we have to make sure it goes through the appropriate process as well. So it's a maybe. Okay, let's go back to our categories. Okay, next category.
Gifts
Got
for
a few
100.
left.
Gifts for 100.
Gifts for 100? Okay, let's close out gifts. How many people are needed for a widely attended gathering? Oops, sorry, I don't know why. So how many people are needed for a widely attended gathering? 10, 25, 50, no minimum. Give everybody a few seconds to vote. Okay, so 8% say 10, 33% say 25 or more, 58% say 50 or more, and it's actually 50 or more, representing a diversity of interests must be expected to attend to meet the requirements for a widely attended gathering. So if you're invited somewhere by somebody other than the sponsor of the event, then you have to kind of meet that 50 or more for the widely attended gathering to apply. And again, it needs to be that diversity of attendees. So it can't be some company with 50 people invite you to attend some event that they're hosting. Widely attended gathering, again, needs to have that diversity of attendees. Your attendance has to be in the interest of your agency. The agency is going to have to keep the approval records for 2 years, but you have to keep that in mind, that it has to be that diversity. So it can't just be a insular group of people. It has to be different people from an industry or representing a range of interests. Okay. So we have now closed out gifts. We've got a few more questions. So where to next?
Too many hats for 200.
Too many hats for 200? Okay. So too many hats. Roger's an officer of MPD, works as a security guard at his local grocery store. Joe, Roger's supervisor at MPD, sees Roger at the store on a day when he's scheduled for duty hours. So when Joe checks the official logs and speaks to Roger's supervisor at the grocery store, he realizes there are several days where Roger was working at the store when he submitted time for MPD. So are there issues with Roger's moonlighting? Yes, no, maybe. And 100% of you say yes, because that is absolutely the correct answer. And why is it yes?
Like while you on the clock.
Exactly right. So he's on the clock for MPD. So he can't also be a security guard at, his local grocery store. And we've had several recent agreements that have been approved by the board where there have been similar fact patterns, and the potential violations that have been in these agreements have been either 1800.3J, engaging in outside employment or activities that conflict with their official government duties or responsibilities, 1807.1A, engaging in outside employment reasonably likely to interfere with the ability to perform their job. Can't really perform your job for MPD if you're also working at the grocery store. And then 1807.1B, using government time and resources for other than official business. Again, you can't be, doing your job for the district if you're trying to do somebody else's job. And there's been a recent case where the U.S. Attorney's Office charged an MPD officer first-degree felony fraud for committing time and attendance fraud on the district under this very same fact pattern. So this was a pretty easy one. Because 100% of you recognize that this was a big problem with the moonlighting on district time. So next,
Ethics wildcard 400.
400 wild card. So Sarah is a newly elected ANC. In addition to the official ANC social media accounts for her single member district, she also uses her personal social media accounts to engage with her neighbors on ANC business. Some of her neighbors have fairly strong opinions on development in her district and have been posting some fairly uncensored thoughts on the issue on her personal accounts. So Sarah knows she can't block constituents on her ANC accounts, but she calls you to ask whether she can restrict her personal accounts so her pumpkin picking pictures do not get lost in the shuffle of ANC business. So again, this is Sarah's personal account here. So can she block people on her personal account? She just wants to post pictures of her kids in the pumpkin patch. Very cute. She'd like her friends and family to be able to see them. So is she okay to block people? Let's see what everybody says. 50% of you say yes. And why are you, for those of you who say yes, why is that? It's because it's her personal account, maybe, right?
Yes, it's a personal account.
Her personal account. But remember, she's using her personal account for official business as well. So 28%
for
of
both,
you say
then
no.
if she uses it for both, then she gets what's happening. If she's using it for both personal and
Yes, she's using it for both official and personal. So it's a maybe, right? And we talked about this, I think, at one of our recent brown bags, and where, whoops, sorry about that. That was really weird. Using her personal official accounts for ANC business, what Sarah has done is limited her ability to block people on her personal accounts, right? So she's using it for official business now, and so the United States District Court for the District of Columbia recently upheld a settlement agreement involving an ANC commissioner after that commissioner agreed he won't block, I should say, any users from his official account or any account that he uses for official purposes. So the problem that Sarah has run into is using that account for official purposes. So by doing that, she's created the possibility that she might be limited in her ability to block people from her personal accounts. So really what she needs to keep in mind, and what everybody generally should keep in mind, is you have to keep your official business separate from your personal business. And once you start mixing them, then you start running into potential problems.
So why is it a maybe and not a no if she mixed it?
It's a maybe just because you may have to answer additional questions, right? So you may ask, has the level risen enough, or has she used it enough? that it's a definite no? Or has she maybe only used it minimally where she could just stop using it and it would be okay? I mean, I think no would also work. But I put maybe just because that's a discussion point that we probably have to tease out, like how much is she using it? Right?
Okay.
Okay, we've got a few more questions. Where to next?
Election season 300.
Election season for 300. Okay, so Erin's in the Wilson building for a series of meetings. She spots these signs hanging on the walls in the office that she's in. So she has just attended a BEGA training and knows that campaign signs should not be displayed in district buildings, but she thinks these signs are okay because they're from the 2020 election and they're not current signs. So is Erin correct about these campaign signs? Are they okay because they're historical signs, they're fine? Is she not correct about them because they are, still campaign signs? Is it a maybe? I'm gonna give everybody a few seconds. What do we think? 10% of you say Erin's fine. 90% of you are like, no. And just so you guys know, I put a trick sign in there. So the answer is maybe. So the signs that we showed, 2 of them were clearly campaign signs from the 2020 election for 2 people who are current candidates for election. So displaying their campaign slogans in district facilities is prohibited under both the Local Hatch Act and Federal Hatch Act. One of these signs, this is the trick, is actually the sign for an official federal government program. It's a Department of Agriculture program. So this one, the Build Back Better here, it's actually okay, technically, but it's confusing, right? Because it has the slogan that was used for the campaign, but President Biden did use Build Back Better for official programs. So those official program signs and slogans can be used. And there's a recent advisor opinion that talks about that. So anybody have questions on that one?
So even though the Build Back Better is associated with President Biden's campaign, why would that be allowed to?
So it's
directly his slogan?
Because it's their actual official programs that were then use the Build Back Better, right? So you can use the logos of the official programs. You should still be careful. I mean, there are several ones. There was another one that I found that where the district also has like a Build Back Better program building on the federal government one. You can only use them for official government programs, right? So initially started as a campaign slogan. Some of them transitioned into official programs, but it's hard to distinguish between the two. So you should probably just stay away from them unless, for example, you're working on this particular federal program. So it's hard to stay away from it if you're working on that official program. So that was the trick. Sorry. Okay. But I mean, most of you, the instincts were correct that, yeah, you can't have campaign signs, even historical campaign signs for current candidates in official buildings. I just threw a little bit of a curve. Okay, 3 more questions. Where to next?
Too many hats, 300.
Was that too many hats?
Uh-huh.
Let's do too many hats. So Richard's been hired as an attorney advisor at the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Administration. He also has a side business helping prepare taxes. His tax services include representing clients who are appealing their tax assessments at hearings before the Office of Tax and Revenue. Richard's boss has approved his outside tax business, asked him to consult with you to make sure he follows all the rules in running his tax business. So, what are we going to tell Richard about his tax business? It's fine. His boss has approved it. It's not before his agency. It's all good. Or it's a problem for some reason or other. So what do we think? That's an even split, 50-50. 50% of you say it's fine. His boss has approved it. He went through the appropriate channels. It's okay. 50% of you say it's a problem. For those of you who think it's a problem, why? what makes it a problem. His boss says it's fine. It's not
I
before
don't
his
think it's his boss that should say it's fine. I think he should be asking his ethics officer whether or not it's fine.
Okay,
Agency.
okay. What are the ethics officers like? Yeah, it's okay.
Depending on time and resources, right? When is he doing it? What resources is he or she is he using?
That's definitely a consideration. It is a problem. And it's not just the resources, and it's, you're absolutely correct. It can't just be that your boss says it's okay and it's okay, despite the rules. There's a prohibition on serving in a representative capacity as an agent or an attorney in a matter before a district agency, right? So that's the problem that Richard has here, is even though it's not before his agency, it's before another agency in the district. And his tax prep services could include appearing at these hearings before the Office of Tax and Revenue Assessment and on behalf of a third party challenging the district tax assessment. So there's a way he could do it where he prepares taxes and he doesn't do any of the representation and appearance issues, but he has to be very, very careful that he's not running into those problems. So that's why it's not just sufficient to tell your boss and your boss says it's fine. That's not going to be good enough if there are other rules that maybe either the boss or the ethics counselor aren't considering. So we got two more. Let's wrap up. We go election season or wild card. What do we think?
Election season.
Election season? Okay, let's wrap it up with election season. George works for GDOT on the district's electric vehicle infrastructure deployment plan. He's also volunteering for his neighbor's campaign for a U.S. Senate for Maryland. George wants to encourage his friends to contribute to the campaign and support the election of his neighbor. And again, this is not a district election, right? He has been asked to lend his name to the host committee for a fundraiser for the Senate campaign. Is he okay to host the fundraiser because it's not a district election? Yes, no, maybe? What do you think? 75% of you say, yeah, it's fine. 8% of you say no. And 17% of you say maybe. For the 75% of you, why do we think that George is okay? Is it because it's not a district election?
Yeah, because it's in Maryland.
Because it's in Maryland, right? It's a federal election though. And George is working on a federal program funded by the Department of Transportation. So he's being paid with local funds and federal funds. So he's going to be subject to the Federal Hatch Act, which means not only can he not solicit for district elections, he can't solicit for federal elections as well. So that's why it's a problem for him to be on the host committee of a fundraiser, even though it's not district regulated election. He's got that additional prohibition of being funded by federal funds and therefore subjecting himself to the federal Hatch Act. So I think we're down to our last question. How's everybody feeling? I think you guys got a preview of the leaderboard earlier because the slides kind of worked a little funny. So we are down to our last wild card for 300. So Emily's a project manager at the Office of the City Administrator. She's detailed for 30 days to the Department of General Services to assist GGS with a short-term project. She returned to the City Administrator after a detail, and 6 months later, she accepted a job with Abstract accompanying the district. During her first month working for Abstract, Emily's asked to attend a meeting at GGS. She didn't work on any matters involving Abstract while at GGS. So Emily takes advantage of our lifetime post-employment guidance and calls to confirm that she can attend the meeting. She's just being safe. She's like, I know I'm good. I didn't work on anything involving Abstract. She calls us. She's like, I'm going to go to the meeting. Is that okay? Can she attend the meeting? Yes, no, maybe. Again, this is our last question. 38% say yes. 19 say no, 44 say maybe. Those of you who say yes, why yes? Is it because she was on detail? She didn't work on anything involving Abstract? Which one of those kind of is persuasive for you? Or for those of you who said no, why is it a no? So it's actually a no. And it's not just a maybe, it's actually a clear no, because under both DPM 1811.10 and 18 U.S.C. 207, she's subject to the 1-year cooling off period for DGS as well as the Office of the City Administrator. So she can't make any communications or appearances on behalf of a third party before DGS for a year from when she ended that detail. So we said that it's been 6 months since she went back to her job, and it's been a month since she took the position with Abstract. So she's only been out of DGS detail for 7 months. She's still under that 1-year restriction. And the 1-year restriction for DGS applies even though it was only a detail, because she's considered an employee of both agencies. So that's the end of our questions. How does everybody feel? You guys feel good? Let's see where we are. Let me go to, trying to get to where we're supposed to be. Okay, so here we are on Kelly is our winner. 8 out of 16. Somebody who used the name Disclosure, Nick and NJ. NJ, is that you, Nina?
Yep, that's me.
Okay, who's Disclosure?
I do.
If anybody wants to fess up, we can get you your prizes. So what did everybody think about the game? Was it challenging? So nobody knew what Hal was up to because that was a trick question. So that's not a really fair hardest question.
As the questions continued, it got more confusing in my head.
Is it confusing, or like, I didn't want them to be confusing?
Well, not confusing, just yeah.
Well, so those of you who got 8 out of 16, if you can just drop your contact information in the chat and we will get you your prizes. Let me stop sharing. And that's kind of, let me go to the end of our slides.
And thank you. I thought the questions were kind of just right, but I did see that there were in the chat some follow-up questions. It might be hard to follow up with them now because I think that they were asked like as the questions were going on, but I just wanted to point that out, that some folks for some of this.
Yeah, I'm happy. We have a few minutes still. I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions. I tried to make the questions kind of similar to what you guys might see on a day-to-day basis. And hopefully you can see like the nuances that, you know, we have to deal with and you guys have to deal with every day in answering these questions. A lot of them are not, you know, cut and dry. Some of them are, and some of them were fairly straightforward, but I think there was only one question. We had 100% of everybody got the same answer and it was the correct answer. So that shows you like, you know, what you guys do every day is, you know, you exercise judgment, right? So you have to like think through these issues, and I'm going to try to get you to our slide. Let me go to the last and go to the end. Give you our contact information. Can never get this to work the way it should. There we go. Thanks for playing. We hope you have fun. If you need to contact us, is our main number. You can also email me. I'll drop my contact information in the chat. And we've got a few minutes, and I'm happy to answer follow-up questions that anybody might have. But thank you, everybody.
Thank you.